Okay, welcome everyone to the kickoff meeting today for the HL7 Australia Fire Connectathon, which is on the 1st and 2nd of September in Brisbane. It's going to be in the Telstra Health building. So we're going to walk you through eRequesting track today. Just going to start with an acknowledgement of country. HL7 Australia acknowledges and pays respect to the past, present and future traditional custodians and elders of Australia and the continuation of cultural, spiritual and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So my name is Michael Wilson. I'm Fire Solution Architect on Spark at CSIRO. So I'm one of the track leads. I'll take you through our session today. I'm hoping this is interactive. So if you've got questions, raise your hand, speak up. I'm happy to take any questions as we go through. We don't need to wait till the end. And the more you ask, the more you get out of it. The agenda today, I'm not going to go through all that, but basically a bit of an introduction. We're going to walk through some of the things we're going to do at the Connectathon. At the end there, we've got a sort of introductions and what you'd like to get out of the Connectathon. So if you're on the call, we'd love to hear from you, what you're bringing along, what you'd like to get out of the Connectathon. Helps us in our prep and getting to know you. Track leads. For eRequesting track leads, we've got Andy Bond, Angus Miller, myself, and Michael Osborne. So you can reach out to any of us on the day or beforehand. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Bit of an overview of the track, what it's all about. So the eRequesting track is about implementing and testing HL7 fire diagnostic requests for pathology and medical imaging using the AU eRequesting fire implementation guide profiles and RESTful interactions. So we've got our fire IG that's just gone to ballot. So we're looking at testing that. So the goals for this Connectathon, we want to enable participants to build an understanding of the AU eRequesting fire IG. We want to test your implementations against the ballot snapshot. We want to look to identify and raise any issues you might have found at the Connectathon so that we can get them considered for balloter consideration during the current ballot period. Another important thing we want to do, I'll talk about it a bit more later, but we want to contribute to the test coverage for Australian Fire Maturity Model progression. So we have a number of our artifacts all at AFMM level 1. The more testing we can do, we can look to progress those to additional levels. So we'll try and capture some test evidence out of this event as well. Track page. This is probably the most important link. If you're only going to get one link, the link to the track page, that QR code will take you to it. There's a tiny URL there as well. It's got all the information that we're going to go through here today. It'll be updated if anything changes. It's got all the resources you're going to need for the Connectathon. So that's the page, and I will just jump to it. I'll paste it in the chat. You've got it there as well. You'll see it's got all the details in here about the description, the prerequisites, the leads, the recording of this, as well as the slides of this presentation will also be available here. We've got the agenda, system roles, testing information, testing scenarios, and then underneath it as well, I'll talk about it a bit more later, but we've got participant connection details as well. So everything you need there. It's also got the link to the Zulip chat. So if you've got questions, you can post them in Zulip. One of the co-chairs or someone else in the community even might get back to you on those. So we've got a dedicated topic for this Connectathon, so you can use that. I'll just click on that, just so that it comes up. Don't worry, it's a bit slow. I'll come back to it. So yeah, that's track page, chat, Zulip stream. The agenda. So we've got 2 days, 2 jam-packed days. Day 1, and that says Tuesday, and it should be Monday, the 1st of September. So I'll fix that slide. But Monday, the 1st of September is day 1. So the sign-in is from 8:30 a.m. and we'll kick off at 9 o'clock with acknowledgement, country and welcome. Then we'll do a short track kickoff. We'll do a dedicated one for eRequesting. And then really we get into eRequesting testing. So our main thing is about testing the eRequesting IG and your software against it. So that's pretty much all of our sessions. There are a few breakouts. I've only put a few of note in here. We've actually got a full program of breakouts right through the Connectathon. But there's a couple of note here that are relevant to eRequesting. There's one after lunch on day one, which is about how AU Base and AU Core supports better exchange of sex and gender information in Australia. So that one's relevant because we're using the sex parameter for clinical use in our service request, which is now being defined in AU Base. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, you might like to attend that breakout. There's also one later in the afternoon, which is about IG authoring. I will go through these actually in the next couple of slides. What we'll also look to do at the end in the last session of each day is looking at this sort of, we'll continue testing, but looking at gathering the test results and feedback submissions on issues and the like, trying to summarize the day, things we've learned, things we want to provide feedback on, trying to focus that last session on gathering some of that information. Day 2, which is right, Tuesday the 2nd of September. Similar thing, kick off at 9 o'clock. Then we're going to go straight into continuing testing. And then we have an eRequesting breakout at 11:20 and on exploring claiming and booking in eRequesting. I'll talk about that more a little bit in the next couple of slides. And then again, after lunch, we'll look to gather any of our feedback and test results. And then after afternoon tea, it's our report up. Now, this is your opportunity to sort of showcase anything interesting that we've achieved during the Connectathon, to showcase that back to the other participants. So that's a good opportunity there. And we'll finish up by 4 o'clock on day 2. Any questions on the agenda before I move on? I'll just keep going then. So some of these breakout sessions, I will actually put it in the chat because there are a whole lot of other breakout sessions, not just these ones. These are just some I've highlighted, but I'll get the link. I'll put that in the chat. So there are a whole heap of other breakout sessions here, but I've just a few of note relevant to requesting I've plucked out. So this is the one on day 1 on how AU Base and AU Core support better exchange of sex and gender information in Australia. So this is how HL7 Australia's Base and Core leverage and localize the HL7 International Gender Harmony specification to support the exchange of sex and gender information in Australia. Like I said, that's relevant for eRequesting in regard to our service request and the sex parameter for clinical use. So if you'd like to be involved in that, you can go along to that breakout. There's also another one on IG authoring, if you're interested in more about authoring FHIR IGs. So this is for anyone working on FHIR IGs. So bring your authoring, editing questions, build issues or examples, and we'll work through them together. And this runs across all the tracks. So core, patient summary, and eRequesting. So if you're in that IG space or want to learn more, come along to that one. And then on day 2, we have our specific eRequesting session on exploring claiming, booking, and eRequesting. So this is looking at claiming and booking and share perspectives and consider future directions. So it's not currently in the scope for eRequesting R1, but it's something looking to the future, start discussing and share perspectives on that. But Angus, did you have anything else you wanted to add on the claiming and booking chat there?
Not really. It's just that we're doing it, like in prod, we're already doing claiming, or if not, actually we're not yet doing it, but it's sitting there waiting to go live. So we've got sort of that intel we can feed into it, I guess. Not so much booking, although Andy certainly has booking stuff going on at Magenta's, just not with Sonic.
Yep. Okay, but yeah, that's the opportunity to sort of have a think about what you might want to get out of that. A checklist for coming along to Connectathon, register for the Connectathon. I assume if you're here, you've already done that because you know about this. If for any reason you can't attend, please just email events@hl7.com.au to release your ticket to someone on the wait list. On the other side, if you are here and don't have a ticket, you can email there and request to go on the wait list. Another important thing is actually completing the pre-event survey. So this is important to get an understanding of who's coming, what you're trying to do at the Connectathon. Also, if you've got dietary requirements, like that's always part of that survey as well. So definitely fill those in prior to the event. Connect with your track leads. Well, you're here, so you're doing that now, but you can also reach out to us over Zorp if you've got questions leading up to the event. Signing up for a chat.fire.org, so that's the Zorp account, so you can participate in chats. Sign up for a HL7 Confluence account. They're free. Anyone can create those. All of these links are on that track page as well, so you don't need all these links. I won't post them all in the chat. Get familiar with eRequesting Fire IG. Prepare a technical environment, whatever that is, whether it's Postman or a full-on development environment. Definitely have something to bring along to do some connecting with. And add your system connection details to the eRequesting participant system details page. So I will walk you through that one. So in the eRequestingTrack page, underneath it, there is a link to participant system details. I'll put this in the chat as well. So given it's a Connectathon and we want to be able to connect to different systems, providing your details in here will help that happen on the day. So you can see in here, we've put the sparked AU eRequesting server, which is going to be available on the day. Here it's a server. These are the authorization details and the connection details. So if you're coming along, it'd be great to have you put your details in here as well, so that we can facilitate connectivity between different systems, which is what we're all about doing. The prerequisites coming along, a basic understanding of Fire, a good place to start, and a basic familiarity with the AU eRequesting Fire IG. So if you haven't, have a look before you come along. Personal computer with a HTTP client such as Postman or any other development environment, and a functioning development environment to implement one of the AU eRequesting system roles and can participate in at least one of the test scenarios. So whether that's you've got a full-fledged server or you've just got a simple client in Postman or the like, having something to be able to use and connect to each other is certainly useful at the Connectathon. The eRequesting Fire IG is what we're testing, and specifically we're testing the ballot version of this IG. So that's we've got a snapshot that was taken for ballot. We're using that same snapshot for the Connectathon because we really want to try and identify any issues or shortcomings with this. So being able to test it at the Connectathon will feed into that. I'll put this into the chat as well. You'll notice under this directory of published versions, so this one here, the 5th of August snapshot is the 100 ballot version. So this snapshot's published for the August 25 ballot and the September Connectathon. So that's the one we want to use. And you'll see it's got here the details here. The downloads are available under here if you want to download the package. It's also in the Fire package registry. So everything you need should be available for you to download from this IG. Back to, yep. The system roles in eRequesting. So we've got a number of actors defined in eRequesting. We have a placer, a filler, and a patient actor, which are all client systems. So the placer is a system that's responsible for creating diagnostic requests. The filler is a system that's responsible for finding and retrieving diagnostic request fulfillment so that service providers can fulfill them. The patient is a system that allows the patient or their representatives to view diagnostic requests and fulfillment of diagnostic requests. And then we have the eRequesting server, which is a system that accepts diagnostic service requests and makes diagnostic service requests accessible. So they're the 4 actors defined in the eRequesting IG. They're the system roles that would be testing at the Connectathon. So you can test as one or more of those, depending on what your system does or what you're interested in working with. It's just a simple diagram there where the placer generally does the create, update, and search of eRequests. The filler search, reads, and updates. They'll be updating the tasks, specifically the fulfillment tasks. And then the patient actor that does searching and reading of eRequests. Some test scenarios as part of our track page, which I'll just jump back to. We have down the bottom here a number of testing scenarios here. So these are just to give you ideas on things you might want to test. As part of the Connectathon, a bit of a guide. If you want to walk through this, you can also do your own scenarios depending on what you're interested in or what your system wants to do. But these just give you a set of scenarios that you can work through if you're not quite sure where to start or what to do. These are high-level scenarios. Co-chairs can help you work through these, how to implement them. They're not step-by-step. So if you're starting from scratch, you tap one of us on the shoulder and we can work through it with you on where to start and what to look for. But as a summary, we've got some test scenarios for the eRequesting placer actor. So that's creating pathology requests, and that's using codes from either RCPA, SPIA, SNOMED CT pathology, local codes, or free text. We've got different approaches there. You can do imaging requests. Again, a set of different value sets you can utilize there to create those requests. Implementing some of the must support elements on our service request and other related resources, things like fasting, reason, body site, sex parameter for clinical use, coverage, supporting info. There's a whole heap there. So padding out the request to include all of those different types of must support elements. Creating communication requests like copy to, urgent, and patient. I'm not sure that they were available at the last Connectathon, so that's something new you might want to try out. And also managing groups, so creating multiple requests as part of an order group. So there's sorts of things the placer might be looking at. For the filler, retrieving requests and updating the fulfillment status of tasks would be the primary scenarios there. And then for all actors, this is about finding tasks by identifiers, getting all the related resources from that fulfillment task as well. So the service request, the patient, the practitioner, all of those sort of related resources. Polling and looking for new or updated tasks as those fulfillment statuses change. You can poll and look for updates as they have changed and updated. And also filtering status by actor and identifiers, or by actor status and actor identifiers. So if you're looking for something that's being fulfilled for you, keep an eye on it and see when it's been updated and then view the status. So some of the details of those scenarios are on that track page, but you can also create your own scenarios depending on where your interest lies. As I mentioned earlier, one of the really important things we want to utilize this Connectathon for, and we generally always do, is about providing IG feedback. So sharing your experiences and feedback to improve the AU Fire implementation guide specifications. So any input you have is crucial for the ongoing development and enhancement to the IGs. So, when you look at these things, they tend to look fine on paper, but as soon as you start working with them in the real world, start doing some real development on them, you might flush out some issues with them, might be things your system can't support. You might question why things have been done a certain way that don't quite look right. So what we want to do is take that opportunity during the Connectathon, anything that we find, we want to raise those issues in the HL7 Jira issue tracker. And it's really important this time around too, because ballot is still open while this Connectathon is happening. So any issues we find, they can be considered by balloters during the current ballot cycle. So if you haven't created a Jira issue before, one of the co-chairs can help you do that. And it's a great opportunity to do that and provide your feedback to help shape the specification. And the other one there at the bottom is contribute to test coverage. So this is so we can gather some test coverage to support the Australian Fire Maturity Model progression. All of our eRequesting artifacts are currently at AFMM level 1, which is basically the lowest level we can go to for publication. What we'll be looking to do though is trying to progress some of those to AFMM level 2. And for them to go to level 2, what we need to have proven is that they have been tested by at least 3 independently developed systems that with coverage across 80% of the elements. In that case, it'd be at least 80% of the must support elements on those. By doing that, we're showing that, hey, there's been a reasonable amount of testing on this. 3 different systems have tested it, and we can move the maturity up a level to AFMM level 2. So we started this with a Spark testing event a couple of months ago in Brisbane as well. You'll see there is a testing page for eRequesting IGs. Put that in the chat as well. And what we do is at each of the testing events, like capture information about who was there, who was testing it, and then we gather some test evidence. So these are the different actors that we're testing at this event. These are the products that were tested. And then this was our coverage, like how many systems tested each of our artifacts in eRequesting. And you can see here we had a number that had 3 tested, some had 4, some had 2, but we pretty much had coverage across everything, except we didn't have any patient actors. And then we roll that up right into like read, search, update operations on each of the different profiles. So it's showing that coverage, like we don't actually care about test results, whether they pass or fail. We care about you actually having exercised these different parts of the specification. We don't publish here any information about what test passed, what test failed, or any of those sort of things. It's really just a coverage report to say, look, we've had systems exercising these different parts of the specification. And that then gives us the evidence we need to take back to the fire work group and say, hey, our artifacts have been tested, we can raise the maturity level of those. So on this testing page, there is this spreadsheet. So we will be asking you to look at filling in that as you're testing on the day, just to help us gather this coverage information and then build the maturity of our fire IG. So people will be walking around asking what you've been testing and helping fill in that spreadsheet to collect that coverage information. Some of the tools that are available, like I said, we're going to have a Spark AU eRequesting fire server available on the day. There's the link there. This is all on those participant system details page, so you can get the details from there. It's loaded with the AU eRequesting, AU core and AU based profiles. It's been loaded with our HL7 AU test data as well. So we've got a whole suite of test data in there, practitioners, patients, organizations. We've got some sample service requests and tasks and task groups and everything in there. So it's a good place to look if you want to write some queries to pull that data out, have a look at how that test data is formed. It's also configured with the remote terminology server. So we've got tx.dev to hl7org.au, so you can do validation and the like on it as well. It's available without any authentication for read-only. If you want to do write to it, you want to create some service requests, you want to do some updates, you can do that as well. We'll have 2 user accounts available that you can use. We'll provide those on or before the day as well for doing write access there. We'll also have the HL7 AU terminology server available to tx.dev to hl7org.au, so you can do validation on that terminology server, expand operations on code systems. We loaded AU core eRequesting terminology, including the RAND scale radiology referral value set, SNOMED CT imaging procedure value set, the RCPA SPEAR eRequesting pathology terminology reference value set, and the SNOMED CT pathology procedure value set. But everything else is on there as well. They're just the ones that are specifically relevant to us, but there's a whole heap of other stuff on there as well. So you can use that on the day. We also have the HL7 AU test data repository. Like I said, this has been loaded onto the Sparked eRequesting Fire server. But if you have your own Fire server, you want to use this test data in a different way, all that test data is available for you in GitHub. So it provides synthetic, realistic data conforming to HL7 AU Fire IGs. Like I said, it contains all of those resources and many more. Also contains some JSON files and Postman scripts for loading them into your servers. But it's all preloaded in the Spark server. But if you want to use that for any of your own testing in different ways, you're free to use that from GitHub. So that's a whirlwind of what we're doing and what's available. So now's our opportunity to sort of go around the room and see what you're interested in doing, what you're going to bring along, and the like on the day. And I might start with Angus, given you're bringing stuff along. Always do.
Yes, I've got a week to put it all back together again, but I'm hoping to bring the same stuff I brought before. So I'll have a server and a filler client. So Sonic's client. So it'll be Sonic's real client that we use, and then more a sort of prototype server that we have that it looks into and can take requests from. I think we just set up SMP and DHM in it. So you'll be able to replace requests in there, and then there's a sort of mocked pathology back end that will sort of transition them through the states of being collected and completed in the lab. So it doesn't really happen, but you'll see over 5 minutes, it just updates the statuses through. It is close to the ballot, but not perfectly aligned. We're probably a little bit forward in some aspects and a little bit backwards in others. Things like the clinical notes stuff we haven't done yet. And of course we have claiming in ours, but that's not in the spec yet. So it's close, it's sort of 95% the same, with just few small differences. Yeah, and we don't have, I don't have a placer client.
Okay, thanks. I might just go through the list I've got here. Chandon, can you bring anything along?
I'm just going to continue some of the testing I was doing with Angus's server and the testing event. I didn't get time to finish all of it. So we'll pick up with the ballot draft and some of the test data and do some more testing, which I did with the Spark server and Angus server. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, and and I think that's a good comparison to where you can use Angus's server, and then you can use the Sparked one as well if you're trying to look for differences and how they behave and the like, which will be useful.
Yep.
Jump down list. Joel.
Hi, Michael. Joel from BP. I'll be more an observer, so I'm not a developer, more a product manager. Yeah, might help do some testing if there's other systems to connect to, but yeah, it's my first Connectathon, so more just a learning experience and getting some exposure to it and seeing where the industry's going.
Yep. Okay. We might be able to get you set up in Postman. Great. Set Postman up. We can probably get you some basic queries going.
Yeah, I know how to use that, so yeah, I can have a fiddle with that.
Yep. Sounds good. We got here Stephen.
Yeah, hi, I'm Steve Matters. I'm an independent contractor who's got lots of experience with HL7, but none with fire. So I'll be like Joel, more of an observer, but really looking to understand a bit about fire and get to know some of the people.
Yeah.
And maybe hone my postman skills.
Yeah, that's right. It's it's good opportunity to get your hands dirty, and no better way than diving in. And hey, I think we have a few Postman collections around too that you can probably start with and explore your way through it. So,
Great. I'm looking forward to it.
all right.
I've got a Python web client that I'll be using as a placer. I can generate bundles, transaction bundles and stuff. So if you guys, I'm hoping to get that set up in the cloud somewhere so you guys can use it, just fiddle around the edges if you don't have a client.
Good.
I think Matt, you've got something too.
Yeah, I've got something as well. I've got, I guess, I've done one for each actor. So I've got a placer, a consumer app, which just shows you something. And a filler one, which is similar to what Angus's does. It just sort of lets you claim things. It doesn't do anything more than that though. So yeah, they'll be available. I'm keen to see how they work with other systems. They're not totally compliant. I've just done enough because my focus is really demonstrating some of the terminology capabilities of this. So, but they'll be available and they're all hosted online.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Have I missed anyone? Is there anyone else on the call who I think Ilya had to drop off, but he said he's put in the chat that he's going to bring his aid box as an AU eRequesting repository, Beta EMR as an AU eRequesting placer, and also present Consult Med AU eRequesting placer. So he's happy to connect with all participants. So he's put that in the chat. But I think that probably covers all of us.
You bringing Mitesh along, Angus?
No, I don't know if I don't think he's coming. I'd love to rouse him up, but he hasn't certainly hasn't talked to me about coming.
Okay.
Okay. If you are a newcomer, there's some links here as well on a newcomer orientation, Fire 101, how to read a Fire IG, and fire testing tools and overview. There is a recording there. Given we've got a couple of new ones, I'll copy that link if I can. Copy it. Easier said than done. Well,
You probably said this before, but it's the PowerPoint presentation you've got up available somewhere?
yes, the PowerPoint is on the track page. This link here, the PowerPoint is in here.
So we can get that URL ourselves.
Yeah, so you can jump, like I said, the track page. I'll just put that back in the chat as well. But the track page is you go to for everything. There should be everything we've talked about here on that page. Should get you everywhere else you need to go. So yeah, if you only got one link, you've got the track page. That should be it. That's it. Happy to take any other questions on anything you like about eRequesting. So if there's anyone wants to know more, because I did go through that pretty quickly, especially if you haven't been before, it might be all a bit new to you. But it's a very welcoming environment, and you're free to ask dumb questions because they're not dumb, because we've all asked them in the past. And don't feel overwhelmed. We're all on this journey together, and everyone's very welcoming, and feel free to ask questions, reach out, talk to people. They're great events for all this. All right.
Thank you.
Well, we might leave it there today. Thanks for coming. Reach out to us on Zulip if you have any questions before the day. Otherwise, we'll see you there. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Michael.
See you next week. Thank you,
Thanks,
Michael.
everyone.
Okay. Look forward to seeing you all. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.